Welcome. Thank you for joining today's conversation. This is Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution. Today's topic is unlock new revenue streams with tax representation services. And my special guest is Eric Green. What to expect from our conversation today is how to capitalize on the growing demand for tax problem resolution, overcoming the mindset shift that's required to scale a tax rep practice, and discovering the step-by-step system to add $100,000 in tax rep revenue. I suggest you have pen and paper ready because Eric is going to generously share a lot, and then we're going to show you how to be able to connect with him as we wrap up. A little bit about Eric. He's the managing partner of Green and Sklar LLC, which is a 25-person law firm, and he specializes in civil and criminal taxpayer representation. Eric is definitely a nationally renowned tax expert and author, commentator of IRS civil and criminal tax record matters. He's lectured to more than 70,000 practitioners on civil and criminal tax topics. He's one of the nation's best-known lecturers in continuing professional tax education. Eric is the founder of Tax Rep Network, which is an online community of over 500 accountants and lawyers who are building tax rep practices. He's a past chair of the Connecticut Bar Association's tax section and is a fellow of the American College of Tax Counsel. Plus, he's the author of How to Build a $1 Million Tax Rep Practice. You can find out more about Eric Green and Sklar LLC at gs-lawfirm.com. So Eric, let's go into our conversation. I'm looking forward to what you have to share. And before we do that, I'm just interested about how you ended up getting into the tax rep field.
By accident, actually. So first of all, Lauren, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
So I was an accountant, decided I didn't want to be an accountant, went to law school, and my intention was to do like mergers and acquisitions or estate planning because I love the strategy of it. And I actually ended up not really liking it. I found it because it's very document driven, drafting, and I thought it was kind of boring. I ended up having some clients get in trouble with the IRS, and your old tax lawyer helped me. And so back then, there were these things at the IRS called human beings, and you could go and actually meet with them. And they taught me really how to do this. And it's interesting, once you start helping taxpayers, you will get more referrals than you could dream of. And it over a number of years just took over my practice. And now it's pretty much the only thing I do. And yeah, no, it's a niche kind of practice. Not too many people do it. There's a massive need, more than 25 million taxpayers in trouble. And this is a service. It's like, in a way, it's like being a specialist. Like you could go to a general physician or you can go to a heart surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
You get to charge. This is a specialized service. We charge significant fees and they pay it. They need to. They need the help. It's kind of like there's an old joke about, why would you want to be a podiatrist, be a heart surgeon, right? Because when people need a heart surgeon, who's going to argue price at a time like this? It's kind of the same. They need help. The IRS or State Department of Revenue is pressing them. And it's actually very rewarding when you can resolve the issue and the weight comes off from the client. There's something really, I go home at night and I did good that day.
So part of what I'm hearing is that this is organic growth. It wasn't something you were intentionally looking for, but also what I'm getting from what you're saying regarding the clients is there's some urgency. There's immediate pressing need. And because of that, they aren't really shopping around for the cheapest person to represent them.
Very few are. And, especially for accountants, if you happen to be a CPA or an EA, there are a number of things kind of that surround this. Mm-hmm. So one, we're a law firm. Back tax returns, bookkeeping, like right now, a very hot topic with the IRS are these more than 11 million non-filers. Um, those cases, our tax rep members have reported back. We survey every other year. North of 17,000 in total fees. Now that's just not for representation, getting the accounting done, getting the records together, doing the returns, getting them submitted, and then there are balances due that you need to resolve, federal and state often. So they tend to be lucrative. And once, if you're CPA or EA, once you solve someone's problem, they're never leaving. You are the person that saved them. And we had a very interesting, we got an interesting statistic back from our tax rep members in the 2021 survey about their tax practice, like compliance increasing. So we sent out a follow-up saying, what do you attribute that to? And we have a lot of folks that answered back saying they would get new clients because they say, look, I see you do representation and I don't have a problem, but if I do have a problem, you can handle it.
Mhm.
And so it's almost in a way, it elevates your practice
Mhm.
because you're somebody who's not afraid to resolve things with the IRS. And that so it not only carries over in terms of building your rep practice, but it carries over into bookkeeping, accounting, forensic accounting, tax returns, because it's sort of a street credibility issue almost in a way.
And I agree with you that tax rep is definitely a hot topic. It's not meant for everyone. But part of what I'm hearing, which I didn't always think about, is that these clients, they're not like one-off clients where they come to you for just the tax rep and then they move on. It sounds like that's the way that they come into your practice. But once you help them with this, they're with you forever. They become very loyal clients.
They do. Now for us as a law firm, they do tend to be more one-off because we don't do returns. So I would bring
Right.
in a CPA or an EA, but usually they'll stay with that CPA or EA afterward. The the other thing is they tend to be great referral sources. I always thought to myself, gee, if you had a tax problem, you're not going to really tell anyone. It's just sort of embarrassing. Oh, no, 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 no. They'll tell everyone. We often, when we get like a subcontractor, let's say it's a carpenter, we'll suddenly get the plumber, we'll get the roofer because they all have tax problems.
Mhm.
And so it took, at some point when I actually embraced this as a practice area, and I did start speaking and marketing and doing the things to kind of get the word out. It took a year or two, and then I very quickly ramped up. And now I maintain over $1 million of fees generated from my firm. I don't do a whole lot of marketing anymore because the accountants know who I am, the bankruptcy lawyers know
Right.
who I am, and it simply becomes, oh, you got a tax problem? Call those guys.
And that's the benefit of having a niche, is that you get known for that thing. You don't need to do as much marketing, and it just creates a steady stream of referrals. But a lot of times people think that someone who is a tax rep client is going to have those empty pockets. They're not going to have money to pay you. So is payment an issue?
So a couple things. One is you do need to change your mindset a little bit. I'm talking more to the accountants. Lawyers have learned this a long time ago. We get our money up front. It's all about the retainer. Versus like if you're in a 1040 practice, you can prep the return. You just don't hit e-file until you're paid, or at least you shouldn't. Here you do need to get your money up front, but I'll tell you, kind of like, again, they're in desperate need. They need your help now. People who come to us who are truly broke, and there are some, I mean, they're low income folks. We actually refer them to the low income clinics. Every state, there are multiple low income clinics, the IRS funds. Honestly, and I always tell them, why pay us? You can get, for your case, you can get representation for free. They also usually, not always, but usually tend to be the more simpler cases. They don't have much in the way of assets. You're not getting valuations and all of that stuff. It's very cut and dry. Go to the low income clinic. Students will represent you for free, and honestly, you're a slam dunk offer and compromise candidate. For the most part, we will have people, when we tell them the retainer, they'll pay it. And so the truth is, you can do a lot for people, and they don't have to be broke. These folks more often than aren't broke. In fact, more often than not, what I see, my observation over 25 years of doing this, is they tend to be living outside their budget. They're actually living a lifestyle. We have folks come to us who owe 3, 4, 500,000. They've leased a Mercedes. They have a summer home. They're not broke. They're making 200,000, 300,000.
Mm-hmm.
Their lifestyle has simply gotten away from them. They can't afford to maintain it and pay the back taxes. So part of this, there's a little counseling to it, which is like, all right, take a step back. You need to save for retirement. Get rid of the second home. Get rid of the Mercedes. You can lease a Toyota. You don't need to belong to the country club. And we help them kind of rein that in. And meanwhile, we're working to work out a resolution with the IRS and get that resolved. And honestly, there's a lot of strategy to it. People, and this is why, I don't know if you've seen this, Lauren, 58% of offers get rejected.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I think the accountant or the taxpayer themselves, they fill in the form and mail it in. There's actually a lot of strategy around this. I'll give you an example, which is what makes it so interesting to me. So if you came to me, Lauren, look, first of all, if you called me and said, I owe 100,000, I make 70,000 a year, can I do an offer? I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Are you married, kids? Are you in bad health? Are you in good health? Are you single, renting? I don't know. But assuming we met and we determined you just filed the returns, you could pay $1,000 a month. Well, there's a 10-year collection statute. You owe 100, you're going to be able to pay 120. On paper is what it looks like, 1,000 a month, 120 months. You can't do an offer. You have to get into a full pay installment agreement over almost 9 years. But Lauren, you're self-employed. Why don't you have disability insurance? You're more likely to be disabled than die. I bet you have term life insurance. Most people own disability. Go get disability insurance. It's not inexpensive. That'll be $250 a month. Why don't you get health insurance? Can we legitimately adjust your financial picture? Now you can't pay $1,000 a month. Now you can only pay $600 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can only pay $7,200 a year because you can't full pay. You can do an offer. What is the offer? 12 months of future income, $7,200. And I'm assuming you don't have much equity in any assets. But there's a way that we could literally resolve your problem for, I hate the term, but pennies on the dollar.
Mm-hmm. And
it really, if folks who are listening who've never done this before, it's actually pretty simple. It's understanding the way the collection process works and understanding the formula. It's called reasonable collection potential. And if you give me 4 hours, I'll teach everyone how to do an offer that gets accepted. I'd love to sit here and say, look,
Mm-hmm.
I am a genius. I'm just brilliant. Trust me, if you hung around with me, I'm not. You'll know in a few minutes. This is merely understanding process and formula. If you can do a 1040 or you can do bookkeeping, you can do an offer. You can do an installment. It's not that complicated.
So part of what I'm hearing is that it is definitely possible to get paid up front. I think that every accounting professional ought to be paid up front anyway. So why have AR if you don't have to? Well, and then the other thing is that a lot of them might need some advisory work, especially about managing their money and how to budget. So that's part of what I'm hearing also. And that there's some strategy involved for any accounting professional that wants to move in this direction about understanding how collections work, and that it's very formulaic once you really tap into the reasonable collection potential. So one of the things that's actually coming up for me, and it's not a question that we talked about, but is this something that accounting firm owner could package as far as a service that they're offering to someone that needs tax resolution?
Yes. So, Lauren, it's an interesting question, and I actually do a class with Roger Nemeth. Roger is the founder of Tax Help Software. It's the software package we use on how to add 150,000 in services. And I point out a few things. So first of all, even if your clients don't have a tax problem, with the software, if you get an 8821, the power of attorney, but it's only to pull transcripts, it's not to actually represent. 2848 is to represent. 8821 is simply to get information. If you got an 8821, let's say from all your clients in December, you can monitor their account. The software, once a month we pull, it will flag everything that has changed in the transcripts for our clients. Are they back in collection? Did they default? Was their offer accepted? We actually know from the software before we ever get the letter, because the transcripts show it. So we have tax rep members charging $100 a month to their clients to monitor their account. They can pull, you can get wage and income reports and all that for non-filers. But another way to also, to do this in terms of just turning them into an annuity is really what you're doing. You have the one-off, we've done the offer, they have to maintain compliance for 5 years. So when we suggest, look, and I found this by mistake. So what happens when we finish the case, when you do this long enough, I get all these random letters from the IRS on clients I haven't seen in years. We decided we're revoking power of attorney. We're done, case is over. Clients lose their mind when you do that, because they get a letter saying Green and it's kind of a nasty letter. Green and Sklar's has revoked their power of attorney. Eric Green is no longer representing you. You will deal with the IRS directly. Well, clients would literally call, be like, why are you firing me?
Oh, I bet.
We're not firing you. If you need us, come get us. No. Keep your power of attorney on file. So I just threw out there one day, I'm like, all right, $100 a month. We'll take $1,200. They said, send me the letter. I'll sign it. We probably have close to 70 people paying us $1,200 a year. I mean, there's what, 85,000 of free money?
So you've created a subscription service now for people that want to continue to have access to you and want to know that you're looking out for their best interest.
Right. And our letter basically says, this is just for monitoring. If something pops up, we will send you a new engagement letter, and that's a separate engagement. We're not representing you for this, but we will at least alert you if we see something pop up. It's honestly the easiest money I've ever made.
But it gives them peace of mind, and that just frees them up then to focus on other things instead of having to get triggered anytime they get that envelope with the tax logo on it. So
exactly.
That's great. Okay, so that's a way to be able to package something and actually start moving in a subscription model, also creating that almost passive revenue for you. So overall, I think that anything that requires change can feel overwhelming. It's something you might overthink. Are there any critical first steps that you see as far as adding tax rep to an accounting firm services?
Well, first of all, and by the way, this is sort of going to lead to like how tax rep became a thing. And this tax rep was an 8-hour training program. That was it. I found I had all these accountants that wanted to be able to consult. And so we started the monthly membership. And what I tell people who are new to this, first of all, go through some training, get comfortable with this. And first of all, because I believe you're going to find it's not that complicated. I literally just did a program on liens, tax liens. And somebody, I should get a screenshot of it. Somebody posted in the chat, I can't believe it's this easy. It really is when you understand the basic concepts of it. So first of all, do some of the training. Make sure this is something you're interested in. I mean, it may sound cool. Get into the training and see it. If you're like, you know what? I get this. This is great. The first thing I would suggest to anybody is you market to your existing network. Let them know you do this. My first tax rep member, Anthony DeLucia, CPA, he's retired now, got 150,000 of new business literally by sending one letter to his 51040 clients, what to do if you can't pay the taxes. What he got is all these people saying, I didn't know you did this. My daughter has a problem. My son hasn't filed his sales tax. We're behind in our payroll tax. No one had thought of him for that. And so the first thing you always do is, first of all, get some training. If you enjoy this and this is something you want to do, let your clients know, tax rep, we are your help desk. So you're not hanging out there alone. And that's in many ways, I modeled it over almost off the NATP, which if you're an NATP member, you have access to their help desk. So if you have a client issue, and that to me always struck me as, wow, that is worth the membership that pays for itself 20 times over. And so that's what we do at Tax Rep. There's no limit. You have free access to us. So you're not trying to figure this out on your own. And I think that gives a lot of comfort to people that I'm going to build a practice here because I'm not doing it alone. Get some training. When you get the message out to your network, if you start getting cases, join us. You can sign up and start sending messages the first moment you're there. Eric, got a case? I have no idea what I'm doing. We got you. We'll walk you through it. We can help you.
Then it sounds like it's easier than what they actually think about. It's more of making the decision that you want to get the awareness. So get some training to see if it's something that appeals to you, if you like working with that type of client. If so, then start to market. One of the things you mentioned was sending that letter about what to do if you can't pay your current taxes, because almost everybody knows someone in that situation at some point. And then be client-centered. Listen to your clients. And if you have any questions, then the Tax Rep Network is a way to become that help desk to kind of walk you through how to be able to answer that client question that came in. Does that sound about right?
I think you nailed it.
Great. So I know that having a really profitable firm is more than just crunching numbers for your clients. That's the compliance side. And there's a shift away from that. So is there any type of mindset adjustment that you see that is critical for being able to reach that $1 million mark for any firm owner?
Well, if you're somebody who has a practice already, a bookkeeping practice or a tax compliance practice, you're already way ahead of the game. You have clients that are already paying you. You have clients that I assume like you. First thing at first is automate. Automate everything you can automate. I'm a big fan because I don't do returns, but we have members that use Liscio and Gruntworks, and they've automated the organizer and the prep to the point where now the question becomes, do we let my staff go if I don't really need them? Or do we now start adding? Because now you can do way more with what you have. I mean, so if you're nearing retirement, allows you to downsize. But if you can we automated everything we can automate. Tracking of our cases, our engagement letters, the link to get paid, which we used to all do manually, email clients, all that. It's all been automated now. So the way to get to $1 million, the old-fashioned way, let's be blunt, I mean, I'm going to prove my age, was the pyramid model. You remember partners up top, then you had professional staff, then you had the other staff, and it was very simple. Work slid down, money slid up, and you had to have space and overhead and HR and all that. Not anymore. You should, if you're in an accounting bookkeeping practice, you should be automating as much of the bookkeeping as you can. Same with the tax prep. And when you automate, now you've got the option, can I take what I have and just keep building on it and become more profitable? Or can you lean down? And if you can do that with your existing practice, you now free up all this time. You can start doing representation. You could start doing financial planning. If you want to go into forensic accounting, the forensic accountants we know get $750 an hour, and we need them. Criminal tax cases, bankruptcy cases. If you're really into that and not rep, go start looking at getting your certified fraud examiner designation. You can do a lot of more high-end lucrative work, and the way you can do it and not take the risk of shedding what you have, automate what you have so you're not central to it. Go from being a worker bee to a business owner effectively. You can make that shift, the sky's the limit. I mean, there's more than enough work. I mean, I can tell you right now, finding a bookkeeper is almost impossible that has any capacity. I think the opportunity is there, and the way to do it is technology and leverage.
And I agree with you. Part of what I'm hearing as far as the mindset goes is shifting away from being self-employed to being the CEO of your own firm, even if you're a solo practitioner. And the way to be able to really optimize your time is get all that manual stuff off of your plate, the day-to-day stuff that you can automate or have someone else do at a lower price. And as a result of that, it allows you to be able to free up time for the higher level work, a niche, a specialty, advisory services, but something that has greater value than just the compliance side of accounting. And I think that some of the things you mentioned were really important. It could be forensics. It could be the tax rep. It could be high level advisory and consulting on firm on business growth for your clients. So one of the things I know that is connected with you, you talk about the $100,000 challenge a lot. Can you kind of explain exactly what that $100,000 challenge is?
So, you know, when back in, I think it was, I forget which survey, was it 13 or 15? We kind of got back the average fees per case, according to our members, was around $8,300 on average across. Some of them were less, some of them were these non-filer cases, and maybe they're 18,000, but the average came out to just about $8,300. So do the math, add one case a month, you can add 100,000 to your bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of became everyone should be adding 100,000. So at the end of the year, I surveyed everyone, and a handful had done it. And so it made me wonder, well, where's everybody else? And what I found, or there are folks that are like, yeah, Eric, I'm really not doing the marketing as much as well. I'm really busy. And so what we decided is, you know what? Every month we're going to do, it's a short webinar live. Here's the topic, and here are the 4 things you should do. 4 blog entries, record these little, videos, whether it's TikTok or whatever it is. And if you just do that, in other words, create some discipline. If you just do that, you'll add 100,000. And it has become wildly popular. And I don't know where we are, but I'd say we're north of 60% now have added that 100,000. So the goal, of course, is to get everybody there. Because listen, if you're joining Tax Rep, I want people to not just learn, but to at the end of the day, I hope that all of my members say, that was a worthwhile investment of my time and money. And we believe our training is top notch. And if we can just keep people, what this happens, life happens. We can have the greatest plan in the world, and then life happens. And and I know what happens. The marketing kind of goes by the wayside because you have things you have to do, you have family you got to deal with. So if we can keep everyone on track, join us for this thing once a month. We're really asking for 2 hours. After this, just take 2 hours, do what we tell you to do. We are confident you can add 100,000. So that $100,000 challenge now, I want to say, is in its 7th or 8th year.
Very nice.
Going strong.
And this is, you're giving the formula for the Tax Rep Network to be an investment as opposed to a cost. And part of what I'm seeing is that it combines accountability. So you have the meetings on a monthly basis, also the discipline to go ahead and put something on their calendar so that they're doing it consistently, and that you've been able to take something that maybe seems overwhelming. And anytime you say marketing to most firm owners, that just seems automatically overwhelming, but you've chunked it down so it's easier to implement. And you've given them some of the how-to steps. And as a result of that, they see the money coming in, they get new clients, and it's a win-win for everybody. So anything that you feel also contributed to inspiring you to just come up with the Tax Rep Network that kind of triggered it and launched it in the beginning?
Well, it was funny. The idea that came, so the way when I started building my law practice, the way that I got business was we'd find a room, rent a room, pay for hors d'oeuvres. We would do a 2-hour talk and give CPE credits to the accountants. And we would initially we would send letters out to 300 something, knowing we'd get 30 or 40 that would show up. We do the
Mhm.
talk, they get credit. And that's what I would do. One day I had a CPA, I'm still friends with, who walked up to me and said, I would pay you if you would teach me how to do this. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. So I spoke to him about it, and he said, I would love to be able to do offers and comp. I don't know what I'm doing. And so I said, okay, so what if I put together an 8-hour training course, which I did. And I invited him and a few others to test it, got some feedback, then, reworked it and went and did it live up in Boston and in New York, sold out the rooms. The feedback was great. And that's when people started saying, can I consult with you? No, so
Mhm.
initially now I'm sending like engagement letters. And eventually it was one of them emailed, said, can we just agree to like a monthly fee? And so tax rep again I never thought of this thing as like a business or what the model is. People would tell me about sales funnels. I don't even know what that is. It really just started as, I'm happy to train you and help you build your practice. And we've grown. I think we started, I think initially the first year we had like 18 members.
Mhm.
We're now just north of 500 all over the country, and over the world, all over the world. We have a member in Guam, we have a member in France, who are licensed, CPAs, and because there are a lot of expatriates that have not filed and paid for years. So
Mhm.
that's something I never really thought of, but they contacted us like, oh my God, there's a huge expatriate community here. I go and give a talk, I get 10 cases in a week. I'm like, wow, I never not even thought of that. So it's really grown into 180 hours of training, 40 hours of marketing training, the help desk, the $100,000 challenge. We do 2 live
Mhm.
conferences. It's really grown into a community. It's actually really cool.
I think you actually created a new niche right there, because most expats don't even realize that they still need to continue to pay taxes on a yearly basis. So that right there is like a whole other segment of the population outside of the US that might need the tax rep services. But also, Eric, part of what I think you mentioned and I want to really highlight is you listen to your audience. People were coming to you saying, can you do this? And you were open-minded and you found a way to be able to solve that problem. And then other people came and asked if you were able to do this in a different way, and you were able to really be solution focused with that. And that's really one of the things I believe that has led you to be where you are today, is that you listened to what people wanted and were able to come up with the ways to be able to give them what they wanted in the way that served them best.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I guess it's kind of like, what is it? Find a need, fill a need.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. And that sometimes what you think your clients want or need and what they actually want and need are two different things. So it's about also like you've been is open to that feedback. Anyway, I think that you've made some really powerful points today. I've learned from you. Every time that we speak, I learn more. So some of the things that we covered is capitalizing on the growing demand for tax resolution services, overcoming that mindset shift in order to be able to scale the tax rep practice, and the system to be able to add $100,000 a year in tax rep revenue. So Eric, can you share how people can connect with you as well as Green and Scars LLC?
well, yeah, the law firm is Green and Scars LLC. But if you want to check out Tax Rep and connect with us, it's taxrepllc.com. I'm actually, given all the speaking and everything I do, I'm actually pretty easy to find. If you Google me, I tend to pop up. But yeah, no, go Tax Rep LLC. Check it out. We'd love to have you join the community. And yeah, any questions, let us know. That's what we're here for.
Excellent. And I just want to say to anybody joining us, Eric is definitely active on LinkedIn. It's an easy way to connect with him. Eric, thank you so much for joining me and for everybody that's joined us today. This is
Thank you
Lauren
for having me.
Fogelman. Absolutely. This is Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution, showing accounting firm owners how to double their income working half the time. Take care.